Imagine walking downtown and a bunch of people start running towards you, screaming, trampling. You don't know what's going on. Fear for your life starts to set into your mind. And then all of a sudden you hear gunshots. And that drives home the factor that it's about to get ugly. Mass shootings are a terrible thing, both in the United States as well as around the world. And according to CBS News, in the US alone last year, there was 417 shootings that took place. Now, I'm not very good at math, but that's more shootings than there was days in the year. It's kind of scary. Having grown up around violence, around drugs, around weapons, I know firsthand how scary those gunshots can seem. And I can tell you for sure that the cause of mass shootings is due to uneducated and unprepared citizens. So today I will talk to you more about the problems associated with mass shootings, the actual causes of mass shootings, and some possible fixes that both you and I as citizens can do to be preventative and to help better our future. So let's first talk about mass shootings and the problems with them. So obviously the first problem is the amount of people that they kill. So a mass shooting, by definition, is anyone taking the life of more than 3 people simultaneously. So already 3, that's a lot of people. If it's one person, it's still a life that doesn't need to be costed. According to University of Maine, Farmington, more than 90% of all shooters had mental illnesses. That's kind of scary. Background checks are implied and made mandatory to deter those who have mental illnesses to not be able to get weapons. In the case of the Sandy Hook shootout, the background checks actually worked. The shooter was not able to obtain guns from a store based on a background check. But a serious problem with mass shootings is the fact that those background checks mean nothing. Background checks don't stop thievery. They don't stop thieves. If a shooter wants a gun, there is always going to be a means of getting that gun. Pistols versus ARs is a big argument that people bring up. In the case of the Sandy Hook shootout, an AR was not used. An Armalite rifle was not used. Pistol was the gun of choice, and it was able to wreak havoc. It was a terrible thing. I remember that day. It was very sad. So now with that out of the way, and the problems of mass shootings concluding, let's talk about what causes the mass shootings. In actuality, what causes them. It's not the guns, but rather a lack of security and knowledge at a citizen level. Knowledge on what to do in the event of a mass shooting is very scarce, to be honest. Most people don't know how to act. They don't know what to do. They look for those who do know what to do. That way they can feel safe. No one wants to teach it because it's so taboo. We would rather say, let's take something away than be preventative on the subject. We're preventative on so many things. Diseases, unsafe sex, thousands of different things. But mass shootings is not one of them. And it absolutely blows my mind. With that unpreparedness comes a lack of security as well. With thousands of people at a venue, there should be at least enough guns on hand or, other weapons of choice that could deter any person from wanting to commit such a heinous crime as a mass shooting. If you stand guns in one spot and a mass shooter in the other spot, with him coming head on to guns, it will deter the shooter from going there, but rather choosing a smaller target. Now, I'm not saying that's good either, but when we can save multiple lives from deterrence, is definitely worth it. So with the true causes of the mass shootings out of the way, let's now talk about how we can actually do this. And the best way to do this is just with classes. So many times we go to classes that we don't want to be in. I know I didn't want to be in gym class, but it was mandatory. So making a mandatory emergency class that not only teaches what to do in the case of mass shootings, but also in other, terrible things, should be mandatory. What to do in the case of fires, what to do in the case of tornadoes, what to do in the case of domestic violence. All of that can be crammed into one class, as well as with the mass shooting prevention, and it should be. It should definitely be taught. Another thing to do would be to prepare citizens on what to do and to use positive encouragement to actually partake in self-defense. So many times I see hundreds of people talk about why concealed carries should not be a thing. But in reality, concealed carries are the best deterrent and stopper for mass shootings, according to heritage.org. So to wrap up, mass shootings are terrible acts that are caused by a lack of knowledge and preventative security. So just remember next time that when those people are running towards you and those gunshots are ringing out, if you were prepared, if you had a concealed carry and you knew what to do, that problem now doesn't seem as so much a problem. Thank you.